G'day everyone, welcome back to Europe 1100. This is Fat Rod, aka Rodimus. New series of videos today, looking at the quality of different troop types and how they compare against each other. Something I've been interested in doing for a while, and I've finally found a half decent way of doing it. And that is leveraging a separate mod called Enhanced Battle Test. Now the trick with this mod is, first of all, it's out of date, but someone has kindly fixed up the code and there's a working version on GitHub, which I will link in the description. The second thing is that it doesn't work from the main menu, it will crash. But what I've found is that it does work if you launch it from within the campaign menu once you're in game. So I've started a new game here. I'm not actually going to play, so nothing I do here matters. All I'm going to do is hit escape, and then we can see we have this option down here for single player battle test. So the enhanced battle test actually works if you launch it from here. So kind of what you're expecting. I've got the custom battle UI now, and I can go through and pick the different troops I want to compare against each other. A few other things I've found. The AI is particularly bad. Regardless of whether you pick attacker or defender, it will just attack. I've also found that setting a custom tactics level doesn't do anything. And the generals, I'm not sure if their traits work or not. So the stats I'm running with, trying to find a map that's relatively flat, I'm disabling the generals and then picking my troops. And what this does is it just forces both armies to charge each other straight away. There's no formations, and you know, with archers in particular, it means that they don't spend that much time shooting. Eventually, they'll get into melee range, but it does make for you know, it's pretty much the most even way I've figured out to do it so far. So what I'll do is I'm going to test some different troop types. With this video, I'm going to look at England versus France, and we'll look at how a couple of different troop combinations stack up. So this is our first matchup. We're looking at the English Sergeant Axeman versus the French veteran man-at-arms. So essentially the tier 4 heavy infantry for both England and France. So the French unit's just meant to be a generic heavy infantry, sword and shield, whereas the English Axeman is an anti-infantry, the idea being that they will easily beat something like a heavy infantry unit. And looking at the stats here, we can see they're performing exactly as expected. So all 5 runs on an average, English Axemen beat the man-at-arms every single time. And 57% troops remaining, so they're not even taking that many losses. So despite the fact they're both heavily armoured, both have shields, etc., the two-handed axe makes pretty short work of the French heavy infantry. Okay, so our next matchup is the English Sergeant Spearman versus the Frankish Marshals, so the French heavy cavalry. Once again, they're not in formation; they're just automatically attacking. But once the knights get close, the Spearmen will go to attack. Now you notice the cavalry get a lot of kills on the initial charge. And at first I thought, you know, they're gonna easily beat them here, but turns out once they come back and attack again and again, the spearmen, you know, they actually didn't take that many casualties. And what we can see is that 4 times out of 5, the spearmen actually will beat the marshals every time, and they'll have almost half their troops remaining, average 46% remaining. So spearmen, similar to our axemen, they are operating as expected, more or less. So this time looking at our Frankish veteran man-at-arms versus the English knight. So really just want to verify that our heavy infantry, sword and shield, is still vulnerable to a heavy cavalry. And what we'll see here, English charge comes in again, lots of kills on the initial charge. But once they come back, different to the Spearman, the Knights will actually get the upper hand. So 60%, 3 times out of 5, the Knights actually are killing all the infantry. Interesting to note that the infantry do win some of the time, but majority of the time the Knights will win against a heavily armoured infantry. Also noting as well that average troop remaining, they both take a lot of casualties. So heavy infantry, 100 heavy infantry versus 150 heavy knight is actually a pretty close matchup. Okay, so our next one here is the English Sergeant Axeman versus the Frankish Marshals. So what I'm trying to verify here is if the two-handed Axemen do the same as other heavy infantry against cavalry, meaning I'm expecting them to lose. So what we see when the Knights hit, again, usual kind of initial hit, they kill some of the infantry, but once the Knights get slowed down, you see a lot of kills from the Axemen. And we'll see this again when the cavalry reform and come round again. Couple of kills on the initial charge, but then they get stopped. The Axemen start swinging, and the Knights start going down. So yeah, we'll see this in the numbers in a sec. But the heavy infantry, or I should say the heavy cavalry, absolutely wrecked by two-handed Axemen. Was not expecting this one at all. The Axemen win every single time, 5 out of 5. If we look at troops remaining, 57%, so they're not even losing half their troops. So yep, heavy two-handed axe infantry versus heavy cavalry, not even a close matchup. Okay, so the last one I've got here is our English longbowman versus the Frankish master crossbowman. So should be relatively close matchup. The longbow's obviously got more range and the crossbow's got more damage. And we can kind of see from the kill feed, it looks fairly even. There's kills on both sides. I think the reload time is similar, probably a bit slower on the crossbow. However, once we look at the numbers, English Sergeant Archer actually winning 9 times out of 10. Now the kills are high on both sides and only 25% remaining for the English, but they do win almost every single time. So I did find this interesting. I don't think we can put this down to melee battle either because the English are less heavily armoured. So maybe it's the reload time, but the longbow is beating the crossbow almost every single time. So definitely an interesting result. Okay, so looking at a summary of the numbers now. So our heavy axeman versus heavy swordsman, the axeman winning every single time and with almost 60% troops remaining. Our heavy spearmen versus heavy cavalry. Spearmen are strong against cavalry, as expected. Then heavy infantry, swordsmen against heavy cavalry. Cavalry dominating, again, as we would expect. Unless, of course, that infantry has an axe in their hands, in which case heavy axeman absolutely destroys heavy cavalry, and with almost 80% troops remaining. So definitely something to look at for future balance. And our last matchup, our English longbow versus the French crossbow, and the English absolutely dominating in that case. So something to consider for future balance. So there you have it, the first of my troop matchup series. Keen to hear your thoughts in the comments about changes that we can make, different ways I might be able to measure different scenarios here, but also other matchups that you would like to see. Obviously, there's a huge amount of different scenarios I could run with this. So yeah, look out for more videos in this series coming soon. See you next time.